Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your old pal, the KMN 1971, back with my annual end of year comic book special where I cover my top 52 pickups of the year, as well as some of my own geeky observations of pop culture that have occurred throughout 2022. As far as comics goes, as far as modern comics go, actually, it was a pretty mediocre year in my opinion. Nothing really sticks out that I could say, "Wow, this was incredible." Um, Even though, if I had to, I would point to the Alex Ross Fantastic Four full circle graphic novel. That was incredible. And as of lately, it's kind of funny because my two favorite titles are Ronin Part 2 as well as Marvel Man. So, or rather, Miracle Man. So, that's pretty funny considering my age, and those were two of my favorite titles all the way back in the 1980s, and here we are here in 2022, ending it off with those are at the top of my stack, of my small stack of monthly pull lists. As far as back issues go, however, though, it was a pretty good year, it turned out. Picked up some cool variants, some nice bronze, some Star Wars, some cool odds and ends, and some nice and significant Silver Age pickups that I'm pretty happy about. As far as my runs, I did some significant work on my Conan the Barbarian volume, as well as G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, as well as various Star Wars stuff. And yeah, so as far as comics goes, it turned out to be a better year than I thought overall. As far as geeky pop culture in general, what a great year to be a geek, both on the big screen and the small screen. Top five flicks going in order from 1 to 5 for me this year. Avatar, Way of Water, what a masterpiece. The Batman at number 2, Matt Reeves, that was incredible. Best Batman movie that I've enjoyed since going back to Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight Returns, or rather, The Dark Knight. Wakanda Forever at number 3. Top Gun Maverick at number 4, some sweet 80s nostalgia. And at number 5, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I know it wasn't for everyone, but I thought it was pretty much one of the best movies from Phase 4 and just a solid movie, superhero movie in general. On the small screen, oh, incredible. Andor would probably be my favorite series of all. I mean, if you told me in the beginning of the year that there was going to be an Obi-Wan series featuring a rematch between him and Darth Vader, a Boba Fett series, which finally shows what happened with Boba Fett in the Sarlacc pit, and finally an Andor series, and Andor would be far and above my favorite series, and my favorite series in general. I would have had some serious doubts about that, but that series was just so good. Just masterfully acted, paced, cinematically shot. It was just incredible. And my other big surprise would have to be Peacemaker also. Peacemaker by James Gunn. Awesome stuff. A character I could care less about, played by an actor that I could really care less about, and it just knocked it out of the park. And topping off my top 5, The Boys Season 2, Sandman Season 1, and Game of Thrones House of Dragon. Great stuff. So, let's get into the comics, shall we? Kicking it off, we'll start off with some Marvel Phase 5 spec. You can never spec too early, right? So, Sam Wilson, Captain America, number 3. The first appearance of the dude that would become the second Falcon, and Sam Wilson, Captain America, number 5. We saw him briefly in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So, he's supposed to be making an appearance in the upcoming Captain America movie. We'll see. Speaking of which, Captain America number 25, this is the Hasbro variant, and this is the issue where Sam Wilson officially becomes Captain America. Moving along, Jim Lee is one of my favorite, definitely in my top 5 favorite artists of all time. So I did some serious Jim Lee work on some Jim Lee variants that I have wanted for a while. So here we have DC Universe Rebirth, number 1, Harley Quinn. Justice League number 1, just all straight pencils, Jim Lee awesomeness right there. Continuing on in that tradition, Justice League number 7, Superman, awesome. Justice League number 4, I guess that these are a bit out of order. And Justice League number 8. Classic Joker stuff right there. And seeing we're on the pencils only kick, Batman #1 from Rebirth by the late, great Michael Turner. I've wanted this cover for a long time. Beautiful stuff. One of my better deals of the year, Invincible Iron Man #25, the RDJ movie variant. I think I only paid like $3 for that. That was pretty good. Savage Sword of Conan #1. This is the George Perez, I don't know, like either B or C cover. As far as I know, this was the only time that George Perez illustrated Conan the Barbarian, who is one of my all-time favorite characters, and George Perez is definitely most likely my all-time favorite artist. So, as we all know, unfortunately, George Perez passed away this year, so really great to pick this up. Rest in peace, George Perez. As well as Neil Adams and Tim Sale and, wow, Carlos Pacheco. Tough year. So, Detective Comics, #27, Millennium Edition. Another great pickup out of, real cheap this year. This is a book I would keep an eye out for, especially if you're a Batman fan like me. G.I. Joe, European Missions, #3. This would probably be the best G.I. Joe back issue I picked up all year, and this is just a kick-ass Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes cover. Great stuff. Make sure that it has the poster of this cover on the inside to make sure this book is complete if you run into it out in the wild. Another thing I was into this year was picking up comics that you either had to send away for or came packaged in toys, basically comics that you couldn't buy off the shelf. So here we have The Matrix #1. This is the first time that The Matrix was featured in a comic book. And man, I wish someone along the level of a Dave Filoni would take over the Matrix franchise, someone that really loves it and wants to, bring it to a new generation with respect for the franchise. Matrix 4 wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it could have been so much better. God. Got an upgrade to Game of Thrones #1, first appearance of Jon Snow, and as I've said multiple times in the past, Game of Thrones is my all-time favorite show, and I love the Game of Thrones universe, it turns out. So I really enjoyed the prequel this year also. So looking forward to more Game of Thrones goodness in 2023 and beyond. Let's make a little room. Amazing Spider-Man, King Size Special #5, aka Annual #5, and this is the first appearance of Pete's parents. Only fine condition, but I was happy to pick it up. Anytime I can get any kind of Silver Age ASM into the collection, that's always a good thing. Alright, moving on to my Star Wars highlights of the year. Star Wars what is this, #7? Yes, #7, and this is the first appearance of Aura Singh, Bounty Hunter Extraordinaire. We have The Rise of Kylo Ren, #1. This is the movie variant. Kylo Ren is easily my favorite character out of the sequel trilogy, and as I've said before, probably the only character that I really like. Well, I kind of like Rey too, but I don't know. Star Wars Republic, #65, first appearance of Barriss Offee. Hoping that she turns up in the Ahsoka series, but if not, just any kind of Star Wars related show down the road. I would love to see a live action version of her. Star Wars Episode 1, the Wizard Foil variant. Another book that you had to send away for, as well as this. Boba Fett, Wizard half book, and man, this book took some serious depreciation from the beginning of the year when the book of Boba Fett was out to, towards the end of the year. But not complaining. Made it pretty affordable for me to add into my PC. As it was with this, too. Darth Vader #6, first full appearance of the Grand Inquisitor. Star Wars #1, Star Wars Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand #1. First Mara Jade solo title. Star Wars The High Republic #1. I enjoyed basically the first phase of the High Republic in the comics. I'm not really sold on the second phase so far. We'll wait and see. But first phase, very enjoyable. First appearance of Keith Trennis and a bunch of other characters. Star Wars High Republic Adventures #1. This is the RI incentive variant. Killer Yoda cover. Once again, first appearance of a bunch of characters. All right, let's move some of these out of the way. I also picked up some pretty cool Bronze Age this year. So here are some of those highlights. Here we have first issue special #9, Dr. Fate, featuring Dr. Fate, and I believe this is the first time that Dr. Fate ever headlined his own book. So, a book rather. So, watched Black Adam for the first time about 3 weeks ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, and yeah, it was okay. It was a one and done, but it definitely wasn't as bad as people said it was, and Dr. Fate was definitely the highlight of that film for me, anyway. Tarzan of the Apes, #207, and I've always wanted this Joe Kubert Tarzan cover, and the insides are also by Joe Kubert. Just classic stuff. Not a big Tarzan guy, but come on, that's classic. Keeping on with some nostalgia, E-Man #1 from Charlton Comics. Great. Once again, if you're a modern collector and this looks goofy to you, I could totally understand, but it's one of those that you had to be there at the time, and I have some serious nostalgia for E-Man, Blue Beetle, like all those Charlton characters that I discovered through the modern comic reprints during the late 70s, early 1980s. Speaking of nostalgia, the $6 Million Man, #1 from Charlton Comics, first appearance of the $6 Million Man in comics. So, one of those shows from my childhood that I used to watch religiously. I probably wouldn't be able to watch it now as an adult for more than like 5 or 10 minutes, but it was great at the time. Keeping on the nostalgia buzz, Evel Knievel, #1. The only time that I was able to stay up past my bedtime as a wee lad was so I could watch my Evel Knievel specials back in the day. Evel Knievel was the man back in the day. So this is one of those things, send away comic. Well, actually, no, I believe this came with a toy, if I'm remembering correctly. So another cool pickup from yesteryear. Captain America #230. This was a tough book for me to finally track down, and I'm so glad that I didn't pick it up online too, because I ended up picking it up out in the wild for like $3. So sweet deal. Chamber of Darkness #4. Appearance of the Conan the Barbarian prototype before Conan the Barbarian #1 came out. Avengers #112. And, awesome. Like I said, after I saw the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, I had to pick it up. And really nice copy, too. One of those books, too, if you tried to pick this up in the beginning of the year, as opposed to the end of the year, ouch. Avengers #144, first appearance of Hellcat, and illustrated by George Perez, another great comic that picked up towards the end of the year at a great deal. And finally, Avengers #223, classic Hawkeye Ant-Man cover that has now been immortalized thanks to the Captain America Civil War movie. Thor #1, the Mighty Thor #182, Thor vs. Doom Part 1. And Part 2 and Thor #183. Sticking along on the Doom theme, we have Incredible Hulk #143, Hulk vs. Doom. And this awesome cover right here, Incredible Hulk #144, Hulk vs. Doom. That's some classic Marvel stuff. I think I can fit these last two in here. So we have Marvel Chillers #3. First time Tigra headlined her own comic. Or a comic, rather. Whoops, I knew it. I knew I was pushing it. Oh, failure. And to top off the Bronze Age, Amazing Adventures #1, featuring the Inhumans and Black Widow. Sweet stuff. All right. we have DC Spotlight, number 1, CGC 7.5, and this features previews of The Dark Knight as well as Watchmen, and those are arguably my 2 favorite comics of all time. So, as a fan, I've wanted this for a while. This was actually the first back issue pickup for me that I ended up getting from a Christmas card from my brother of this year. So I'm happy to finally be able to pick this up. I was scouring back issue bins as well as dollar bins for this book and never found it. Never found this book out in the wild. So happy to finally pick it up. Get this out of the way and let's get down to the top 10. Stephen King's Creepshow, original graphic novel, and illustrated fully by the late, great Bernie Wrightson. And I'm a big fan of OGNs, especially from the 1980s, and this one's been on my list for a while. Luckily, I picked it up before it spiked. Now, given the economy, who knows, maybe it's shot back down again, but definitely happy to pick this up. Just be careful when you're out there hunting for it. I know this went through multiple printings. All right, next item up. And my variant of the year, we have Avengers No Road Home, CGC 9.6, and this is the Alex Ross Conan variant. So this is like a tribute to, or rather an homage to the old Marvel subscription ads that used to run in the Marvel comics back in the 1970s. So love me some Alex Ross, love me some Conan, love me some Bronze Age nostalgia. So this checks a lot of boxes off for me. Hate that it's in a slab, but people still want sick money for this, and it was actually cheaper in the slab than what a lot of the Raws were going for. So picked it up, and I do own the standard A cover to this, so it's not like it's trapped in there and I can never read the book, which is one of the reasons that I hate slabs. All right, let me make a little bit more room. All right. Showcase number 56, the first appearance of the Psycho Pirate. Character I hate, mainly because he was, responsible for the death of Flash during Crisis back in the 1980s. But gorgeous cover, man. Dr. Fate, Our Man. First appearance of Psycho Pirate. And this is one of those books that I actually didn't show off in any of the halls this year. I ended up getting a couple of books in within the past week or so. And they were definitely top 52 worthy. So had to include that in there, as well as X-Men number 39. I am a big X-Men geek, but I own basically all the major back issues that I want, except for the Silver Age stuff. So, always wanted this issue. This is where the X-Men finally ditched their boring original costumes and start getting some more original costumes going on. Oh, that doesn't make any sense. But you know what I mean. So, loved picking this up. Only fine to fine minus condition, but good deal. Here we have Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, number 43. Just this kick-ass Jack Kirby Daredevil versus Captain America battle cover. This is the first time that Daredevil and Captain America encountered each other, and of course, in the mighty Marvel banner, they have to throw down. So, great stuff. Silver Age, as of right now, it's probably going to be one of my primary focuses moving on into 2023. As long as you're not going for, there's a lot of comics that have a lot of price corrections going on right now. So due to the economy, unfortunately, but I have never seen so many great deals as far as Silver Age go over the past couple of months, and I see that continuing on in the next year, unfortunately. But as long as you're not going after some major keys, there's a lot of great Silver Age out there right now at a great price. So, moving on. Are we down to the last final 5? 1, 2, 3. Yes, we are. Do I have to take this out of the bag? Hopefully not. So here we have Fantasy Quarterly, number 1, the first appearance of ElfQuest, and this is a CGC 8.0. Very happy to pick this up. I'm a big fan of even though this book came out in 1978, I didn't run across the ElfQuest franchise until Marvel was reprinting it in Epic Comics back in the 1980s. And I am a big fan of the early 80s indie scene, whether it be ElfQuest, Cerebus, Nexus, The Badger, Miracle Man, Dreadstar, American Flag. I love all that stuff. I love that era. So this has been a storyline that I've always been curious about. So very happy to pick that up. Speaking of storylines that I was very curious about, Saga #1. Yes. Very happy to finally pick this up. I just didn't want to pay like $200 for a modern book like this, and I didn't pay anywhere close to that. So I was very happy to pick this up in a lot that contains Saga 1 through 3, and just beautiful stuff. I ended up picking up the hardcover so I could just binge read it. I'm not into hunting down all the back issues, but this is just a pure joy to read, and I'm very happy to include it into the collection. Coming in at number 3, another book that just came in a couple of weeks ago, Swamp Thing #1. Yes. Now, I already own a copy of Swamp Thing #1, but it was only a VG at best. This is fine to, well, I'd say VF to VF minus condition. How about that? And just a silky smooth, beautiful cover, beautiful white pages on the inside, and very happy to pick this up. Another book that you couldn't really touch in this condition for like under $200. So very happy to pick this up, basically 50% off of that. And yeah, incredible. I know House of Secrets is the first appearance of Swamp Thing, but this is the first appearance of the Swamp Thing that I have been following, the one that's based off the Alec Holland character. So the one that was featured in House of Secrets, of course, was during like Victorian times, so it was more of a Swamp Thing prototype. But definitely the first appearance of Swamp Thing, but not the Swamp Thing that everyone's been following basically since the 1970s. That would be this guy right here. So very, very happy to pick this up. At number 2, Invincible Iron Man #1. Yes, love it. I thought this was a book that was out of my range, but luckily ended up finding this copy. Not perfect, probably 4.5. The main issue is those corner creases at the bottom, but there's no Marvel chipping, and there's a couple of, spine ticks on the spine, but I would say, 4.5 maybe? I don't know. I'm not a professional grader, but I'm incredibly happy to have it. Before this year and last year, I would totally, I would not buy a comic unless it was at least in fine minus condition. But now I've kind of softened my stance on that, especially with my #1 pickup of the year, which is Detective Comics #359, the first appearance of Barbara Gordon, the Barbara Gordon Batgirl. Oh, love this book. Big time Bat geek. So, what a pickup this was for me this year. Another book that I didn't think that, that I could really afford, but thankfully, it depends on how you look at it, but when the Batgirl movie was shelved, this book did go down in price a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. And I ended up finding this one at a cheaper deal because it was encased in a PGX slab, which will turn many people off. So this one is only 4.0 condition. Most of the issues are spine ticks going all up and down the spine, as well as some wear on the side. Little crease down there, but I don't care. I own the first appearance of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. That's freaking awesome. So, it's right now, overall, in general, it's a great time if you're a DC fan. I'd be loading up on some DC comics. I certainly will be myself. And it'll be an interesting time also to see how this affects the DC Comics back market. As we all know, even when the DC EU was going on, there was nowhere near as demand for DC back issues as opposed to Marvel back issues. But now there is basically no DCU, DC EU spec. Now that the DC EU is dead, replaced by the DCU, everything's kind of up in the air right now. So, it'll be a good experiment to see what kind of comic book speculation or what kind of market there is for back issues without movie speculation to drive it. There's always going to be fans like me and most likely you that are going to buy comics regardless if they appear in movies, but we'll see how that affects the books overall. As far as the whole DC EU, the death of the Snyderverse and James Gunn taking it over, I'm in a wait and see mode right now. Overall, over the past 2 years for DCEU, I guess. I want to say that I actually enjoyed their content for the first time over the past 2 years more than the MCU Phase 4 in general. When you compare to what DC put out, whether it be like Batman, the Suicide Squad, the Snyder Cut, Sandman, Peacemaker, the only two stinkers over the past 2 years have been Wonder Woman 1984 and Black Adam, because it was just mediocre. I wouldn't even say it stunk, as opposed to the MCU Phase 4 was, as well, aside from Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Loki, WandaVision, and the Werewolf by Night special, there wasn't really that much there for me. I thought Captain America and Winter Soldier were okay, but everything else other than that was mediocre or under that for me personally. So we'll see how things go as far as the comic book market if there isn't movies to drive the speculation. As far as me in 2023, the way I'll be collecting, I'm going to be primarily focusing on Silver Age, some Bronze Age pickups as usual, and less hauls and more comic book spotlights of me just blabbing about comics. So hope you all can all be there to join me next year. Until next time, have a very happy New Year, safe New Year out there, and let's geek out again next year, shall we? All right, until next time, take care. See ya.